Hello aspirants, welcome to MVP Vishwakosha. In today's video, we will cover most important current affairs for UPSC, KPSC and all competitive exams of 31st October 2025. That first point, that's about recent US nuclear test order. Okay, so that is change in policy. So here that US President that Donald Trump has announced resumption of nuclear weapons testing after 30 years. Okay, it is breaking its moratorium since 1992. So this move undermines global arms control and could trigger a renewed nuclear arms race, okay, involving that Russia and China, and also in India's perspective, it affects deterrence, balance, and nuclear diplomacy. So all that perspective it is very important in world order. So this US's nuclear test order policy change. So in that topic, practice question is which treaty bans all nuclear explosive testing? NPT, CTBT, FMCT, START, and all. So in that answer is CTBT, okay, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. So all the treaties, NPT, all the treaties are important, okay. In that practice mains question that discuss the implications of the US nuclear test resumption on global security and India's nuclear policy. All that practice mains question you can practice. So that's about recent that US nuclear test order, that is a policy shift. Okay. Next news, that is India's withdrawal from Ayni Airbase. Okay, that is from Tajikistan. So India formally ended its presence at the Ayni Airbase near Dushanbe, Tajikistan. Okay, so it is marking the closure of its only overseas military facility, and also the withdrawal reflects regional pressure from Russia and also China, and reduces India's direct access to Central Asia. Okay, very important that India's withdrawal from Ayni Airbase and its drawbacks, and what are the impact on that withdrawal. So in that point, you can practice MCQ question that Ayni Airbase is located in which country? Okay, in the international perspective, it is very important. Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. Okay, so answer is Tajikistan. Next in that mains practice question, examine the impact of India's withdrawal from Ayni Airbase on its Central Asia outreach and strategic depth. So in that Central Asia's perspective, you have to write down. Okay, in India's perspective. Okay. That is about India's withdrawal from Ayni Airbase, Tajikistan. Next news, that is about Russia's test nuclear capable Poseidon torpedo. Okay, so Russia successfully tested the Poseidon, a nuclear powered, nuclear armed underwater drone capable, okay, of creating radioactive tsunamis. Okay, it represents a new generation of deterrence beyond ballistic missiles, and it challenges existing arms control framework. So very important that torpedo and its test. Okay, Russia successfully tested that torpedo. Okay, so that's about Russia's test, and in that practice question, MCQ question that Poseidon is an hypersonic missile, autonomous nuclear torpedo, ballistic missile, anti-satellite weapon. So it's an answer is it's an autonomous nuclear torpedo. Okay. So in that mains perspective, you can practice question is critically analyze how emerging underwater nuclear systems like challenge global non-proliferation efforts. Okay, all that torpedoes, all that is important. Okay, so that is about Russia's test nuclear capable. Okay, test. Next, that is China uh, files a WTO complaint against India's PLI scheme. Okay, that is a production linked incentive scheme. In that, China filed a WTO complaint against India's production linked incentive scheme, alleging it violates that all WTO's standards. Okay, CM trims and GATT rules and all there, right? So all that by favoring domestic goods, India also maintain its policies, WTO compliant and essential for manufacturing growth. So okay, all that perspective it is very important in WTO. Okay, that in that practice MCQ question that which WTO agreement governs subsidies. trims, SCM, GAT, and trips, SCM, GAT, and trims. So answer is SCM. So all that, and also mains perspective that evaluate the implication of WTO challenge to India's PLI scheme for its industrial policy and trade strategy. All that important, and China's. That's about China's files a WTO complaint against India's productive link incentive scheme. Next news that is about Iran Russia, that is railway connectivity, Rasht, Astara railway under that is INSTC. Okay, International North-South Transport Corridor. So in that Iran and Russia finalized funding for the Russia Astara railway under INSTC. Okay, to enhance Eurasian connectivity. The project cuts transit time between India, Iran, and Russia, strengthening trade links and reducing maritime dependency. Okay, and in that perspective, it is important that Iran's and Russia's relationship. In that practice MCQ question, that is Iran Russia as a railway under INSTC, that is the Russia as the railway is part of OBOR, that is one belt one road initiative, INSTC IMT corridor Eurasia link. So it is INSTC. Okay, International North South Transport Corridor. In that mains practice question that discuss the strategic and economic significance of the rail link under INSTC for India's Russian policy. Okay, so that's about recent Iran-Russian railway under INSTC. Next news that is about World Inequality Lab's Climate Inequality Report 2025. The report highlights that the richest 10% of the world produce two-thirds of total emissions. So about that climate that will worsening climate injustice, and also it calls for redistribution and stronger adaptation of finance to achieve global climate equity. So in that report, in the exam, that World Inequality Report and its inequality, that is the richest 10% of the world's produce two-thirds of total emission. Okay, so that report is important. In that perspective, practice question that according to World Inequalities Labs, that 2025 the richest 10% emit about what is the percentage that emit? Okay, 25, 40, 66, 80. So 66%. Okay, so in that practice question, analyze how climate inequality impact global environmental policy and what role India can play in promoting climate justice. All that perspective, that World Inequality Labs Climate Inequality Report 2025 is important. Next news that is USA China, that Trump and Jinping meeting. Okay, at APEC 2025. So at the APEC summit, Donald Trump and Jinping agreed on a tariff using an assumption of trade in soybeans and energy, and also this reduces China's tariff, and also the meeting marks the pause in USA-China tension and also potential stabilization of global trade. So all that global trade, all that tariff related, it is important that Trump and Jinping meeting. So in that perspective, the practice question that Trump Jinping 2025 meeting occurred at ASEAN Summit, APEC Summit, G20 Summit, and BRICS Summit. So it is APEC Summit. Okay, and also mains question that assess how the 2025 US-China trade draws could reshape global supply chains and influence India's economic strategy. So that perspective, that Trump and Jinping meeting at APEC 2025 is important. Next news that is about UNEP's Adaptation Gap Report 2025 that is running on MT. So that is UNEP's 2025 report warns of 12 to 14x shortfall in global adaptation finance. So that developing countries need dollar 10 to 365 billion annually, but only dollar 26 billion is available. So threatening climate resilience in vulnerable nations. So in that, even adaptations, all that shortfall in economics is important, and that is in that perspective, the practice MCQ, that developing nations annual adaptation need UNEP estimate 20 according to that report, that is $100 billion and dollar 310 to 365 billion, dollar 50 billion, and dollar 500 billion. So answer is dollar 310 to 365 billion. So that mains practice question. Discuss how the adaptation finance gap affects the ability of developing countries to meet Paris Agreement goals. All the Paris agreements and its goals, all that you should know, and it's you have to discuss about that. So that's about UNEP Adaptation Gap Report 2025. Next point that is about US sanction waiver for India's Chabahar port. Chabahar port, all that location and all, very important. The US extended a 6-month sanction waiver for India's operation at Chabahar port. So crucial for India's access to Afghanistan and Central Asia. It highlights India's diplomatic balancing between Washington and Tehran. So very important that US is sanction and India's economic perspective is very important. So you should know about that practice MCQ question. Chabahar port given India access to Central Asia via Pakistan, Central Asia via Iran, Europe via Turkey, Africa via Oman. So answer is that is Central Asia via Iran. Okay. And that mains practice question. Examine how the US waiver for Chabahar port supports India's connectivity strategy and regional diplomacy. All that perspective, international relation, it is very important. So that's about US sanction waiver for India's Chabahar port. Next, last news that is about Indian women defeat Australia in the World Cup semi-final. Okay, so India's women team defeated Australia by 5 wickets in the 2025 ICC World Cup semi-final, chasing 338 and the highest in women's one-day history. Okay, and also the win is a milestone in Indian sports and gender empowerment. Well, that perspective it is very important, right? And also a practice question. India's record run chase in 2025 World Cup semi-final was 300, 338, 341, 350. So 341. Okay. That mains question discuss how women's sporting achievement contribute to gender equality and national pride in India. Okay. So that's about India women defeat Australia in World Cup semi-final. So that's all for today's current affairs update from MVP Vishwakosha. Revise these topics well. Consistency builds confidence, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for daily updates on UPSC, KPSC, and all competitive exam. Thank you.